go.
Welcome, everyone. Another amazing episode of Drink While You Think. I'm your host, Kenji. You'll notice we gave the boot to the other co-host, Matthew, who was tired and sick of him. Had to get him out. Before I introduced our very esteemed guest, I will do Matthew's usual job, and that is saying thank you to our sponsor, ChargeOver. ChargeOver, I got to warn you guys, you've been a great sponsor, but this is the last episode you're sponsoring because you sent us a whole bunch of beer, and I'm on my last one of your beers. So your sponsorship runs out unless more beer shows up at our door. I know it's a big sponsorship when you're getting paid in beer, but got my last beer we're going to drink. So ChargeOver,
you're going to send them a 1099, right?
That's right. Yeah, that's dude. Okay. Bringing the accountant humor already. So now, yes, we've got the amazing guest. I think honestly, one of the most, I wouldn't say the most interesting accountant in the world, but like,
oh God,
my man Jason Ackerman.
Let's set it up real low.
Listen. We're going to get into some crazy stuff. You've got some interesting.
Well, I might be because accountants. Are we interesting?
No.
So
we're not.
What's that
the bar
saying?
Is super.
That's like the most beautiful hyena I've ever seen. Something like that.
Probably. All right, give us a quick introduction, man. Tell us what you're drinking today.
So I was 10 years sober until this moment. I don't know it's a blueberry. It's a local beer. So I am a CPA. I guess we should start there. I am part of a practice BNA, which stands for my dad's initials, Bernard and Ackerman. He started the firm in 1977, and then I've been here almost 10 years now. And we have a kegerator in the office, and yes. I don't normally drink beer. I'm more of a liquor guy. We have liquor here too, but I was like, I don't want to completely embarrass myself on this podcast / video. So this is a blueberry local blonde. We're located around South Charlotte. We're actually in South Carolina. So it's a local beer somewhere around here. And it's pretty, I'm not going to rate it yet.
Okay. You got to wait till the end to rate it. Nice.
Yeah.
Man. Okay.
They could be your next sponsor. We'll see if we can work on that.
Here's what I'm drinking. Look how weird this thing is. This is the Great Black Stack Bake Off. This was, I think Matthew already had this one. We split these beers up when the guys from ChargeOver sent them.
If it has BBC News, it has BBC News on the side. So it's good.
It's a Blackberry French toast beer. A pastry style sour. I mean, what the hell is that? Oh my gosh.
That's some weird ass Georgia liberal shit. That's all I have to say.
It's from Minnesota, dude. They shipped it from Minnesota. I mean, Minnesota's had it pretty rough lately. Oh man. That looks like I'm pouring Kool-Aid or something weird.
That looks literally like you're about to go to an alien planet and have a great trip.
Well, cheers, man. Good having you on here. Cheers to you. Oh, that's weird. That's funky. Okay. It definitely tastes kind of like French toast. 6.7%. We'll see how this goes. So, all right, well, let's jump into it. I'm going to tell all of our, millions of viewers who are going to watch this, hang with us. We're going to start a little bit nerdy in the accounting world where me and Jason unfortunately have to live most of our life. And we'll get into some crazy shit that this guy is into. All right, so a couple accounting topics I want your hot take on.
Okay.
Pilot valuation. So Pilot, that firm worth 2 billion? Like, Did you hear about that? Does that make any sense to you at all?
I don't get the commodity, like there's a race to commoditize a lot of accounting. I'm not part of that. Pilot's part of that. So I stay away.
It's just a big stay away. Like that whole.
It's just a big stay away.
It's a huge stay away. I think.
No, does $1.2 billion for a company that doesn't have anything automated make any sense? No, it doesn't. But
I was just
also when Facebook bought Instagram for $1 billion, I was like, that's insane. That was probably the smartest thing anyone ever did. So what do I know?
Well, actually, we do know a little bit about this space. I mean, so, but it's a good point. I guess Jeff Bezos is smart. I've heard he is. I mean,
yeah,
seems like
you dance more in that space than I do. I'm more in the tax space.
Yeah, it's crazy. Just thinking about though, like, but still, we all serve smaller businesses. I can't imagine with roughly what,
I just
1,000
don't,
clients or
I
something.
have not quite
Makes sense.
figured out how those pilots provide a good service. I don't think they do to small businesses. I haven't ever found a client that was using one of them that the bookkeeping was done correctly,
Yeah.
which is probably not good. And
I've heard it's
and
not
B, I
great,
don't
yeah.
get like where they get it's a commodity.
Yeah,
It's trying
I
to
guess,
commoditize bookkeeping.
yeah. And still, if you look at the, it just doesn't make sense to me either. Okay, I wanted to make sure it didn't make sense to you either. We were on the same
Yeah.
team there. Okay, let's get more into stuff that
I don't know if that was a good answer.
I
Just
love
fast
it.
forward
I
through
mean,
that.
I love the analogy of Facebook and Instagram. I haven't heard that one made, so maybe we're not thinking of it right. All right, you and I were originally like when you said, "Hey, I'm going to have you come on here." You're like, "Man, let's wait till after tax season." I said, "Cool, let's get you on the first Friday." Theoretically, this was supposed to be the first Friday after the deadline. The thing got moved. This whole deadline moving thing. What's your take on the deadlines moving? Do you care? Is it just stupid? Is it helpful? I mean, what's your take on deadline IRS coming
Moving it in a
deadlines?
month is stupid. Slap in the face. Might as well just have the IRS commissioner could have flown down here and slapped me in the face. It doesn't. 1 month doesn't do anything. I think I would like to see a permanent move to July 15th for most things, just to take the compression of tax season a little bit, less. I think 3.5 months is not enough, especially now when there's so much complex things. And we also they need to just do automatic extensions. Like, why do we have to file there's so many things to the government. I mean, the IRS is so far behind. This is one reason why, like, people ask, like, are you worried about automation in the tax space? It's like, no, the IRS is literally, they're servers from like the JFK administration in West Virginia. Like, it's so bad. So like there's so much movement that needs to be done. And it's not good. It's not good that you have to fax the IRS things.
No.
Like you literally, all CPA firms have to have fax machines or online faxes. Like, who else do you fax? Does anyone else take a fax? Like, only the IRS.
Only the IRS. That
bad.
was such a good answer about moving to July 15th that like literally money just fell onto your desk right there while we were sitting here. Like, I saw that, like someone came in, was like,
so I played golf today with a coworker, and he owed me $6, and he literally dropped it on my desk right now.
Good thing about most accountants, they're gonna pay up. Like, that's gonna be that was pretty sweet.
Yeah, that was actually great timing.
You actually got to my next question, and that was I literally had, my next question was going to be, how broken do you think the IRS is? Which you were kind of answering, because I was looking at some of the news around this, and there, stats on 10-year low right now with number of staff who are at the IRS.
Oh, yeah.
All-time low in number of returns being audited. Yet, I think Biden just talked about in his new $2.3 billion infrastructure plan that's like, there's a big component of it. There's some tax hikes in there, of course, but also like, some of this is predicated on much stricter enforcement of code by the IRS. And I'm like, well, how are they going to do that when they seem to be like an all-time? I don't know. What kind of state?
Yeah,
are
I mean,
they
they've
in
been.
right
It's the IRS has been underfunded for many administrations. That's like the most popular thing for an administration to do, which doesn't make any sense because that's how they collect the money for the government.
Yeah.
And it's just basically by them ignoring the IRS, they've allowed all these super rich people to not pay taxes. Yeah. There's some stat where I forget how many hundreds of thousands of rich people don't even file a tax return because they're just like, they're not going to catch me. I don't care. So that's not good.
That's not good. Not even filing a return, just like
it's half the system. But then, they send out, the worst part is that, like, for instance, today I tried to call the practitioner priority line. It's literally just hung up. They're like, it's too busy. It's like, there's just no way to respond. Like, we need to fund the IRS properly because all taxpayers should be able to get their things resolved in a timely manner. I mean, there's people who processed amended returns last year that couldn't get it. That still hasn't processed. Like they sent it in a year ago and it's still sitting in some warehouse because they can't open the mail. But then the government gives the IRS all this responsibility. You know, they had to send out the economic stimulus payments.
All the stimulus checks.
They had they have like all this responsibility, but then they don't want to fund it. It doesn't make any sense.
It is.
It's a big issue, and obviously they're underfunded and they're just way far behind. There needs to be a whole modernization of ways that we as practitioners can contact them. Like if you look at the states, most states have modernized. Like Georgia, for instance, Georgia and South Carolina have the same system, basically software program. Like you can go online, see the tax, if you have their social and like one other piece of information, you can see all their taxpayers' information. You can get all their accounts. You can correspond if you get a letter. Like it's all digital, which is the way it should be. Like the states are already there. But the IRS is not there. I
think I heard that it was right now is averaging 1 out of every 5 phone calls to the IRS will ultimately end up in the hands of a live person, right? Like otherwise it's just like this pit of despair to where you're, so again, you can't get any kind of resolution, even as a practitioner, like it's impossible. Like it's just very
there's just certain simple things that we should call and be able to get just change. Like someone didn't do an S-Corp election right. Let's just call and fix it. Instead of sending 7 correspondent letters back and forth.
And a few faxes in there in the middle of it. And all kinds of
2 faxes. I mean, you might as well
put in a bunch of like nasty letters that show up at the clients and they're freaking out, right? They get it. They're just panicking.
And you can't respond to them. That's the worst thing. They get a letter and you can't respond to it. It's insane. Let's start drinking for that. God.
You got to start drinking on that one. I'm even making my way through this Blackberry French toast beer, this is going to be a struggle. All right. So your firm, you actually talked about your firm, your dad founding it. I love my dad. My dad is awesome. We're good buddies, but I'm like,
don't say anything bad about your dad now.
He's not an accountant. So luckily I couldn't work with him, but like, I was like, man, I'm trying to think about working with my old man. That would be weird. Is that a weird, and a lot of accountants do that. Actually, it's very common to have generational or accounting practices, but like, all right, what's it like working with your dad?
So my dad is very forward thinking, very on board with all modernization. So it's very easy. Now, if it was my mom, couldn't do it. She's our micromanager. She actually had her own business, very successful. And I worked there one summer and she had cameras on the wall and she would watch everyone all day. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that shit. So, but yeah, my dad and I, we see eye to eye on 99% of most things. So we've never had an issue. And it's been great. I mean, there's nothing better than working with your dad.
Yeah.
It's great. Actually, my brother works here too. He does investment advising. So we have an investment advising wing and he's the main investment advisor.
So there are more Ackermans in the business.
Yep.
Oh man.
Just us 3 though.
Okay. Just you 3. Okay.
That's enough.
And you and your brother I mean, it's just doing different things if he's doing advisement.
Yeah. We all get along. I mean, we all we manage everything together and we haven't had any issues so far.
So you said your dad's forward thinking, but I've known you guys for a while. We've been on Zero Partner Advisory Council. We've known each other for quite a while. We've done kind of passing things back and forth to each other. You guys are, for a firm that started in the 70s, I think of you guys as a very modern kind of cloud-based modern firm, which to me is super weird thinking about a firm that has heritage in the 70s. Is that this your dad has always been forward thinking, or did you have to come in there?
No, he's always been, first of all, he's always treated all of his employees very well. You can't do changes that you want to do unless you get the buy-in from the boss. So the first big thing we did when I came back was we got rid of timesheets and we went to fixed price billing. This was in 2013.
Jeez, yeah.
And, he was totally on board. He's like, this doesn't make sense. Why are we keeping track of time? It sucks. But we didn't know what I think everyone kind of inherently knows keeping track of time sucks. But we didn't know there was another option. So it was like going to conferences and like seeing that there's these other options and like what you can do. Like that's how, but it was an easy buy-in. Like,
Oh, that's nice, man. It's cool to hear that about your dad and how the firms work, because we've just seen so many firms from kind of that era of where you go in and it is just not
well, I
that way
think
at
the
all.
other thing
Right?
that has been very helpful is it's basically just been him as a single owner. So he
Mhm.
had a partner a long time ago, but that person basically lasted 6 months. And so it's basically been my dad who's been building up, and he's still the only owner. He's still 100%. I do a lot of the day-to-day stuff now, but
Yeah.
so just having one person whereas most firms our size would have 5 or 6 partners,
Yeah.
you're not going to get anything done. The partnership
Yeah.
model is very difficult to do change because you have to get 51% to agree, and they very rarely agree on that. So
Yeah.
on anything. So that's also been very helpful, is just, when we want to do something, we can do it pretty quickly and we don't have to, ask 1,000 people what they think about it.
I think you made a great point, because, I think our profession would like to be a little more forward thinking, but they're not. And I do think the typical partnership structure crushes that. Like, it makes it very difficult because it's like a 8-headed monster half the time, right? You got to get all these partners buy-in. It's one of the reasons, it's just me and Matthew. It's the two of us are the only owners at Acuity. And like, as long as we kind of agree and make sure kind of Lisa, who's our COO, is on board, it's like, let's just do it. Like, right. There's not some big committee that we got to go through, which I know you were back in KPMG, I was at Anderson. Like, we saw what things look like. I mean, those are behemoth kind of organizations, but like, you just have these massive partner committees and things that had to go through these huge channels. And it's like, even smaller firms go through that. Makes it hard to.
Yeah. And I think also too is CPA firms make money now. So like, why are they not changing? It's like, well, we're doing pretty good right now. So they don't see the need to change. I'm actually interested to see if like COVID and people working from home a lot, if that's going to change, or if it's going to just revert kind of back to where it was, because that's how CPA firms work. So I don't know. I think there's got to be a very big shift in the industry, where these traditional firms can't make money anymore. So, and I don't think we're that close to that. It's kind of good for firms like us, because then it's easy for us to get new clients.
Absolutely. I've been worried about that with COVID. Like, I was actually, because we've been kind of this remote hybrid model, always use tech. So when we had to all work from home, like, we didn't miss a beat. And so we're like, oh, cool. So we just kind of kept going. But then I was like, oh, you know what? Even though accountants aren't by nature very creative, I mean, they're pretty resilient. They'll figure things out. And so I'm like, oh man, all that advantage we had of having this kind of cool remote hybrid environment, like, a whole bunch of other firms were forced to do it now. And so we kind of lost that advantage a little bit if they continue to stay doing that. Otherwise, you're right. They could very well, like, when things open up, fall right back into the old way of like, all right, everybody get in here, the office, punch your, start submitting your time cards again here in the office, all that kind of stuff. And I don't know what's going to happen there, but it'll be interesting. So,
yeah.
So I forgot to show you at the beginning of that. Look at this. Oh, I'm going to pull a hamstring. Look at those bad boys.
Don't hurt yourself. I love that.
I think I pulled a hammy. Look at those. Those are, I can't pull them back up there for everyone to see again. Yeah, I'm rocking my BNA.
We were on the SOT train because we were on Gusto. We were on the Gusto train very early when it was Zen Payroll. I was actually looking up. I was doing a PowerPoint for my dad. He's doing a presentation for another group. And I had this PowerPoint from 2015. And I had like when we started on all these softwares. And we started on Zero in the summer of 2013. And then we started on Gusto in 2014 when it was Zen Payroll. So we've been with them a long time. And I actually went to their original office when they had 40 employees in San Francisco. And they were big on SOTs. So I was like, that's a great idea. Who doesn't love SOTs as a giveaway? And now everyone does SOTs.
Everyone does. Yeah, we've got our Acuity ones. I knew somewhere. I'm like, I know I've got some adjacents. I'm like, I got to break these bad boys out. I'm like, oh, these are quality socks right here, my man. So
yeah, thank you.
All good.
And they're still good. I mean, you've had them for a few years and no holes. That's pretty good.
All right, we'll get more into kind of some more interesting stuff here. So most time when I see you in pictures, there's
Uh-oh.
also a pug
Yes.
involved in the picture. What's going on with the pugs?
It's the Pug Life. So I had two. So I'm married. I inherited the Pugs. They were my wife's. She had two. We actually just had to put one down last year, which was super sad. But he was 15.
Yeah.
He had the best life. They have the best lives. They eat like 100% organic. Like if it's not from Whole Foods, they drink a Berkey water. Like they live the best lives of anybody. So we're down to one. My wife has already said, like, as soon as he starts to go, we're gonna have to get a puppy. So we will always have a pug in our lives. Great dogs.
Are pugs the best dog? I mean, are they the best breed of
I don't
dog?
think there's a best. Everyone has their own opinion. What I love about pugs, though, is that they're really not like dogs.
Oh, really?
Because they're super small. They don't like going outside. They don't have a lot of energy. They like to sit on your lap, and like you literally have to walk them or they would gain like 700 pounds. They're very like they're like the modern human in a lot of ways. Great personality, not the brightest, but they have great personalities. So they're great dogs, and they like, I could have him in here in the office and he would just sit down all day. And they're great. Like I had a yellow lab growing up, and I was always jealous of the people who would like have their dogs and they would just follow them around and like didn't have to do anything. Like our yellow lab, like if you let him out for 2 seconds, he would destroy everything.
Yep.
Great dog, but like he was a dog. These other dogs, like the pugs, they're great. So
you're convincing me on this. Like I'm like, okay, I never quite understood that, but yeah, that's a one that would just kind of chill and relax with you. Like I'm surprised mine hasn't come running through here at some point, tearing something up. But my crazy Jack Russell hybrid, whatever, I don't know what this mutt is, but she's out of control. So the thought of a chill dog, like that just kind of hangs with you, that is super appealing.
Yeah, they're not big bark. They do shed, but they don't really bark that much. And when they get older, like, and they lose a little bit, they start barking, but like very rarely bark. Great dogs.
Maybe that is the perfect dog. Okay, so it kind of leads me also into, because another place I've seen the pugs a lot. You've got a role called the Chief Eating Officer. Please explain.
Can't you tell?
Those who do not know.
Yeah, my wife and I, we have a food blog called Scallionpancake. Food as in restaurant reviews. So we don't. My wife's actually a very good cook. If it's more than a microwave, too complicated for me. So part of our what we like to do is when we used to be able to travel pre-COVID, like one of the best ways when you're traveling to like get a sense of the culture is to go like eat their food and go. We like to go to like a very high-end restaurant in a country and then go like street meat, do everything to get like to see really how people live there. So we kind of started the blog to document some of the nice restaurants we went to, and then it just kind of grew from there. So we do, I actually do a podcast with that normally once a week with random food people, normally in Charlotte. And we have an Instagram and a website too. So
yeah, I remember you and I think we're in San Francisco, I think after a Zero meeting. And my wife was either coming, something happened. We were walking between somewhere. We were just talking about restaurants, and my wife and I kind of consider ourselves kind of foodies. And then like I mentioned something about restaurants, and you jumped in, and I was like, "Holy shit, that is!" I'm like way next level beyond us. And I was like, "Oh man!" And then when I found Scallionpancake and went to the sites, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you guys have done so much." It's actually super cool. I mean, we'll drop some links in here for people to check it out. But I guess I'll ask you, you've been to these really amazing restaurants, all these great top Michelin star ones. So what's a restaurant? I mean, a lot of them are excellent, but like, have there been any that really stand out to you that were like even exceeded the expectation? Because when they're getting Michelin stars and they're the top 50 in the world, like those are already going to be like, I've got big expectations. Are there any that come to mind that like, that one even blew away, like what we already thought was an expectation?
Yeah, so there's very few moments in life that live up to like expectations. Even when you go to like, you get excited about whatever. Like, it's very hard to live up to that expectation. So I'll give you two. And what's great about going to these restaurants too is it's so subjective. Like a top 50 in the world, like doesn't, first of all, no one, there's like millions and millions of restaurants. I don't know how they rank them. It's all a bunch of bullshit. But like we've been to like the number one restaurant in the world when it was Osteria Francescana, and we were like, this is not that great. In the sense of like, it's, I don't get why it's number one in the world.
Right.
So, but the best one, my favorite, is Noma in Copenhagen. If you haven't heard of it, just go on Instagram. He's kind of, Rene Redzepi's a chef, but you literally walk in and they open up this door, and then like everyone at the restaurant is there, and they just like say hello, like super loud. And then like it's 2.5 hours of like chaos. It's like stuff going everywhere. It was crazy.
That's, I mean, yeah, Rene Redzepi is just, that's awesome. You guys get the Noma. That is like food.
That's
Mecca.
our cool. Like, I actually had a reservation during COVID for there, so we'll get back. We normally go to Copenhagen. If you haven't been, I cannot sing Copenhagen's praises enough. Not just for Noma, but great food scene, great city. Everyone should go there. Scandinavia, they figured out a lot of stuff that we should probably adopt in America. But yeah, and then the one in America that's more reachable for people, that if you go to New York, you should go to Co, the bar. So Co is David Chain's. It's his 2 Michelin star restaurant. It's the highest. I think that's the only restaurant he has that has Michelin stars.
Yeah.
And if you don't know David Chain, you can Google him too. He's got podcasts and he's kind of a celebrity now. But the Co bar, like, it's just a small little bar, no reservations. You go in there. They have the best fried chicken. It's a cold fried chicken that they fry 6 times. And I don't know what they do to it, but it's freaking magical. And it's not expensive. Like, you can go in there, 2 people can get there under $100 and get like plenty of stuff, wine, and it's just a cool place. So everyone go check that out in Manhattan.
He's someone I love following too. He's just fun. I listen to his podcasts and definitely follow him.
His podcast is great. It can be like hit or miss sometimes, but he's what the best podcasts he does are the ones when he gives the history of restaurants, and he talks about, because he's kind of he worked for Wiley Dufresne starting at WD-40 and then WD-40, but he knows like all the history, so he'll talk about like all these chefs. That's the most interesting thing to me. I wish someone would write a book on it. No one has. That's like, we need a history of the modern restaurant scene movement over the last 30 years, because it really started like with El Bulli in Spain, and like everyone, all the modern people all work there. Rene Redzepi, Massimo Bottura, and then like they all kind of have their own people and like their trees and stuff. So I would love for someone to write a book on that. That's $1 million idea. Well, maybe $100,000 idea. I don't know who's going to read it other than me, but it would be fascinating, because they're all like, they all know each other.
They all know each other.
Like, they all secretly love each other and they hate each other, and they're all watching what everyone's doing. It's like it's a fascinating scene. Like the restaurant scene, even in Charlotte, like we're a small, like we've got a couple decent restaurants, but like just seeing all the drama, it's great.
So you mentioned, I was going to ask the counterpart to that, and you kind of mentioned, the Italian restaurant. I guess it was Osteria. That was
Francescana.
Which ones, like besides that one, maybe, or maybe that was the top one that you went into like with such high expectations? We're like, oh man, was that the one that was like,
what
just
other ones did I not like? And I wouldn't say that
I'm not liking, but like not like, you're probably always gonna like, these are amazing restaurants, but like, okay, well that wasn't that big a deal.
Yeah.
Is that the top one probably?
Yeah. My wife and I were just talking about this. What are the other ones? 11 Madison Park in New York. I've actually been there twice, and I went there like 10 years ago, and it's been, French Laundry was kind of like that too when we went.
I was looking at some of your old ratings on things like that. I saw that,
and it's more like, I guess, and it's more of a personal taste, because those places are very traditional, like tablecloth,
right?
French style service, and I guess I just like the craziness of like when I go to one of those places, I want it to be like, it's an experience. It's like going to a Broadway play, and like, it can be different every night. Like the cast could be like, sick or whatever. Like that's the amazing part about a restaurant. I could have gone to Australia Francescana the next day and had a completely different experience and freaking loved it.
Yeah.
It could have been the mood I'm in, could have been a million things. That's the magic of going to restaurants. Like that's what we miss. Like also the atmosphere, the vibe, like everyone in there, like a bustling restaurant, and just overhearing conversations and talking with people and seeing what's going on. Like what's better than that?
It's nothing. I'm with you on that. I know you and I kind of nerd out on that stuff. That's just the best to me. You have to
ask when you go next week. We went to Catbird Seat in Nashville.
We did.
I don't know if you've heard of this. They don't have a Michelin guide in Nashville, but it was really good tasting menu. And I took all the accountants there, and most of them didn't get it. So
it's not for, that kind of dining is not for everyone.
So if you ever find yourself in one of those situations, just go for it. Like you never have to go back again, but just like, don't complain about it the whole time. Yeah. That's in general in life. Like if you find yourself in a situation, just enjoy it. You don't have to do it again.
This is something unique, right? You can say, well, that's, granted, it wasn't, the rib platter from Applebee's like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe you love over and over again, but like something different. So,
and those places, I go to those places all the time. Like I go to Chipotle all the time.
Well, I love your point
Chipotle.
about like, you and your wife going to like, let's find the badass restaurants in town that they're known for, and let's go and hit some of the locals, just kind of like under the radar stuff, and see how regular people eat. I agree. I think it's the best way to get to know kind of a culture, a city, a community. Like that's the best way to do it.
And what's cool is when you go to the high end places, they like do tates on the lower end stuff and see how they play with it. So that's one of the cool things. But yeah, you can't go to a tasting menu every night. It's impossible.
It's impossible.
We've done 2 in one day, and that was one of the stupidest things. We've actually done it twice. Don't recommend that. So
your gout.
Leave it to the professionals, but don't do it.
Your gout was acting up. All of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, I'm eating so much.
Yeah, it's like we're so full, but too full.
All right, last one before we close her down and rate our beers. Here I think we were talking about this a little beforehand, but I think you played golf last week with Scott Scarano. Is that true? You guys played golf last week?
We did, yes.
How much? I want to know. The question is, how much money did you take off of him last week?
So the thing about Scott, he's fucking terrible at golf. Fucking terrible. He's like a 30, whatever the highest. He probably shot 140, but somehow he always winds up even on money. I don't know how the fuck he does it. I don't know if we're allowed to curse on this thing, but
absolutely are.
He's there was one time we played. So I don't know if you ever heard of Tobacco Road, but it's great golf course. The guy, Mike Strands, is a cool architect. Like he died really young, but he designed a few courses that are unlike anything you've ever played. So if you ever go to Pinehurst or somewhere around there, Tobacco Road's near there, go play there. It's great. I was up a bunch of money and he wanted to do double or nothing on 18. And he took some liberties and some drops on 18 that were not exactly with the rules of golf.
Yeah.
But
GA wasn't really okay.
So there's a couple asterisks is all I'd say in some of these things. But he's fun to play with. The best story, I gotta tell this story. So we were actually at Tobacco Road a different time. And we were on 17. It's a little par 3, and he hit it just barely over the green. And then he hit his chip shot like 2 feet. And then he took out a pack of cigarettes. He started smoking. He smoked 2 packs of cigarettes, and then just like went insane on this ball and just hit it like 100 times. Like he was just hitting it back and forth, and just had a complete epic 3-year-old blow up. And I loved every second of it. It was so good. And he literally only smokes on the golf course. I'm like, when we played last week, I'm like, did you bring the cigarettes? And he's like, yeah, I did. And he busted it out on 16 again. It's right around 16, 17 is when he busts them out.
I can't wait then, hopefully, if I'm playing with him next week, to ask him about cigarettes and bust them out. That's going to be perfect.
Yeah. There'll be some weed there too. There could be some other stuff. Who knows? Who knows what's in those cigarettes? I wouldn't try them if I were you.
I will stay.
You might go to
clear of
jail.
those.
I don't
I
know
will
the
stay-
Arizona laws, but I would familiarize yourself with them.
All right, let's rate these beers. Let's show this. I've got my little app thing up here. Do you know exactly the name?
I could look it up. I didn't know this was a thing. So this
I
is
know.
my
I'm
fault.
gonna rate mine. Mine's already up here. This
Let me
French
see
toast.
if I can Google
Yeah,
it real
I'll
fast.
I'll
while you
rate
do
mine while
yours.
you kind of look at yours, or we'll look for it. I did not like this. I usually get through beers on.
I could tell as soon as you poured it that thing was gonna be shitty. What are people saying about it?
I mean, it's getting like, I think the average I just saw was like a 4. It's like a 4 out of 5. No way. I mean, again, granted, I'm going 1.75. That's one of my lowest I've ever. I mean, I'm sure this is a very technically difficult thing to brew. I just don't like it. It's just way too weird. That's weird. Okay, so you've got some kind of you said
I'm trying to
blueberry
find
blonde?
it. I'm trying it.
Wonder if
Yes,
there's
it's a blueberry blonde. It is.
I wonder if we can.
Now this is good TV right here.
This is
I
great.
don't know what good TV.
Two guys exactly typing in a website, blueberry blonde beer, or the brewery.
I'm gonna put
Broadhead,
Rock Hill.
Big Muddy, Saranac. What about Broadhead Brewery? Is that a North Carolina one?
This is really bad.
That's okay. Well,
This is from the tap. We have a tap in our office, so
See,
this is
that's
straight
just
from the tap nipple of our office.
That's just
I will
cool.
say though, whatever it is, I'm not a big beer guy. If I'm gonna do something, you're gonna go straight to cocaine with me. We're skipping all this little shit. But that's a joke for everyone.
just a
I
joke.
don't do
Listen,
cocaine.
people. Come on, we're accountants. Come on now. What would you give it on a scale of 1?
I would give it a 4 out of 5. It's
4 or
good.
5. Okay.
So this is it might even be a 4.5.
We had our fruit, but yeah, I'm jealous now I should have traded fruity beers. Yeah, yours is much better than mine.
Because it's not super fruity. It's not super sweet, just has a little bit of blueberry vibe to it.
This one just tastes like someone super, super sour, like it's like orange juice that's gone bad and they poured maple syrup in it.
Yeah, well, when you described it, it had like 17 things it was supposed to taste like. Like the human palate can only taste like 2 things at one time. So
It says it has pastry style sour of blackberry maple syrup, cinnamon, vanilla bean caviar, and milk sugar.
yeah,
That's all in a beer.
yeah, that's too much.
It's too much, man. That's just too much. But well, hey man, I appreciate you coming on. Where can people find you or, follow along your food adventures?
You can come to my address and no, you can't. Don't do that. My wife, first of all, don't fuck with my wife. That's rule number 1. She'll kill you.
Not be cool. She'll
kill you. I'm not saying like if you show up, you might die.
You won't. Yeah, you won't do it. She will. You're just
Yeah,
warning other
exactly.
people. She's tough.
But you can, so BNA CPA.com is where I am. I don't like, I'm not active on social media with accounting. I'm more active on social media with the blog, but you can always reach out if you have any things you want to know about accounting. If you want my takes, unless you want the pilot take, that wasn't a good take. But how to run a firm, I'll give you some takes on that. You can follow the food blog Scallion Pancake, scallionpancake.com, Scallion Pancake on Instagram, Scallion Pancake on Twitter, Scallion Pancake podcasts, everything Scallion Pancake.
Scallion Pancake, everything is all you need to know.
Keep it easy.
That's
That's another advice for people. Don't have like different handles and everything for everything. One thing. Keep it easy.
Scallion Pancakes. So, well, my friend, thanks for being on. We'll get you back on
this
again.
was an honor.
We'll get down and
honestly, it was great without Matt. I think it was.
This is the best one ever because mostly, not just because you were here telling great stories, because Matthew was not here to bother me and to bother us. He would have killed the vibe. Thanks, Matthew. Cool. Thanks all for watching. Catch us next time. And huge thanks to Jason for joining us from BNA. See y'all.